Transport and its agencies released the statistics in Pretoria yesterday. So to discuss this further, we are joined in studio by the Deputy Minister of the Portfolio, Sindisiwe Chikunga. It's good to have you. Welcome, Deputy Minister, to the programme.
Thank you, Leanne.
So when you released the numbers yesterday, the Minister said when the Easter weekend was approaching, you all saw that it was not going to be easy this time around. What sort of challenges do you face during a period like this?
In fact, you'll know, Leanne, that this time around we had a long weekend preceding the Easter weekend.
Yes.
We had schools closing and we had holidays makers taking leaves because of the very fact that it was a weekend preceding the Easter weekend, and therefore we only had 3 days for people to go to work, and many of them signed leaves. But we also have quite a number of other events in the country, like your Two Oceans Marathon, some festivities in Oostdorp and even in Soweto, KZN and all. And that therefore said, we're not just having facing challenges that we normally face during Easters, but we are also facing other issues as well.
Indeed.
Yes.
But it is, we look at these figures, and when you look at them, automatically you say, wow, I mean, this is fantastic. A 46% decrease, 287 fatalities last year compared to this year, 156. But I suppose we need to put it into a bigger perspective. People are still on holidays. So many people are still going to be coming back from their holidays. A lot of people, schools are off. They're not going back to work as yet. People had left earlier. So when we talk about the difficulties, there's also, I suppose, something we need to read between the lines there. Will there be more analysis of road deaths following the end of school holidays?
Yes, we do. These are not the very last figures that we release. But of course, they will always preempt what is going to happen at the end of everything. Yeah. Like, for instance, last year we're talking about 287. And ultimately, we then had 333. But it will always preempt what is going to happen. And therefore, for now, these are not the final figures, as we indicated yesterday, yes, and the Minister indicated yesterday. However, we really do have a story to celebrate as a country, good as we have a story to mourn about, because 156 lives lost is still a lot. However, we could have simply lost 287 again, or increased the figure. Remember, in 2014, it was 200 something, and the following year we increased the figures. So yeah, it's easy to go up during the time when everybody is on the road driving long distances, as it is a feature in South Africa. Yeah. And therefore, translating these figures, we saved 131 lives. People who could actually be dead. Yeah, 100%. We saved them, and that's something to celebrate. Yeah. But of course, like I'm saying, equally mourn the death of 156 people.
And indeed, and we look at that, but statistics aside, and we will put the statistics aside, because you open the papers today and there's just so much talk about, yes, but remember it also wasn't a month end, and if people had more money they may have been misbehaving even more, which scares me. It scares the living daylights out of me. How can people misbehave more when we're looking at the fact that 913 drivers alone were arrested for drunken driving? That scares me. That is still people on our roads do not listen. I don't know what the problem is. What do you think it is?
The problem of abuse of alcohol is a problem in South Africa. It's an issue, and it is a problem. Yeah. Whether you speak crime, you speak road fatalities, social problems, that is a problem. The abuse of alcohol. And for us, it is translated into these numbers that we're talking about, 913 arrested. And many of these fatalities are, of course, attributed to abuse of alcohol and drunken driving as one of the causes. And that is why I think it's a campaign that calls on all of us as South Africans to take and run with, to say we cannot continue to abuse alcohol for anything, including road crashes.
And speeding. That's another issue. We've got 502 drivers caught for speeding. And, listen to this, viewers. The highest speed recorded was in KZN, 227 kilometers an hour. That's what one of our motorists was going. I read another story about a Gauteng resident who was taking his son or his child for a ride in his brand new BMW M5 and was caught speeding at some ridiculous speed. What was it? 182 kilometers an hour. Speed is also, it's a big problem.
It is. And in fact, that is why we say to people, if you want to race, go to Kialkalam. We'll not arrest you there. But when you go to our road, the speed limit in South Africa The highest is 120 kilometers per hour on national roads, for that matter. But of course, even then, you look at the prevailing circumstances, because it doesn't help to say the speed limit is 120 kilometers and therefore will drive at that speed, even if the weather, for instance, is demanding you to drive at 80 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
And we take all these things into account.
Yeah.
And it is people that are obeying the rules of the road that are making us proud as a country, but of course, making us live. I was just listening to you outside, Liana, when you were talking about the Ebola, saying about 11,000 people were killed. And you're talking about a number of countries in Western Africa. In South Africa, 14,000 are killed on the roads.
Yeah.
So it's more than Ebola. So in South Africa, the issue of road fatalities is worse than Ebola in a number of countries. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually a rather sober way of looking at it. It really is. But Deputy Minister, thank you so much for talking to us. I know that there's so much more to talk about, but we will get you back in once you release those full figures for the holidays, and we can actually then do more of a comparison between last year's figures. And also, I mean, one of the big issues is motorists riding without their registration plates. I mean, that is a big problem. You see all these fancy cars with no registration plates. I don't know. That's one of those issues. Sindisiwe Chikunga, Deputy Minister of Transport, thank you so much for joining us here on the program.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right.